Welcome to our presentation, a universally designed and accessible indoor air quality monitoring and warning system by Tamugri King Asa Musoro and Raju Shrestha. I'm Tamugri and I'll be doing the presentation. Here is an outline of what we shall be discussing, starting with the context, objectives, proposed system, design and development, advantages, and to research methods, evaluation and results, challenges and conclusion. First, indoor air pollution affects 3 billion people according to WHO World Health Organization, and the most potent emission that we have and we considered in this project is carbon monoxide. And solid fuels, we consider anything that is in solid form and that can burn and release energy is used for cooking. So here on the chart that we have dung, crop, wood as solid fuels, and we have kerosene gas that is not solid fuel. Electricity is also a source of energy that produces zero emission compared to the dung that produces as high as 35 ppms of carbon monoxide for 1.6 grams per meal. Secondly, some of the health effects resulting from the burning of solid fuels lead to respiratory and infectious diseases that have high mortality and morbidity rates, especially in children. On the graph, you can see that pneumonia for all cases and hypoxemic cases increases in children with increased exposure to carbon monoxide. So we propose possible solutions are conventional solutions like ventilating the cooking area and using more efficient stove that burn the solid fuels efficiently, and technological solutions such as introduction of smoke detectors in the room. And we shall be proposing what is our own technological solution in this project. Our first objective was to carry out research and then follow the WHO guidelines and principles and use the user testing data to develop a system that will combat indoor air pollution from the burning of solid fuels. Our second objective was to make the system universally designed by innovating with human-computer interaction, making sure that the health effects are subdued by optimizing the pollutant detection capability of the system. The proposed system is a network of sensor nodes that have on them air quality sensors that collaboratively check the status of the air quality in the room and notifies the user by flashing lights, beeping, or via a connection to a mobile phone that will notify the user by vibration and giving a 3-color code notification, that is green, code green, good air quality, and yellow, code yellow, poor air quality, and red, code red, bad air quality. Note that this will also give voice notifications on the mobile phone by repeating the code green, good air quality, code yellow, poor air quality, or code red, bad air quality. At the same time, vibrating at different rhythms and different frequency depending on the status of the air quality in the room. Consider the figure is a typical real-life situation of using the proposed system. The nodes are placed in the room, could cover the entire house, or could be placed in the cooking area as shown in the figure. Note that node 2 is a wearable device on the mother's arm that is connected to the system via Bluetooth. And the mobile phone that was mentioned before is connected also to one of the nodes via Bluetooth. And there is a toy that also has a note in it in the child's arm. Now, when when the child is exposed to pollution, the toy will stop working, and the child is expected to call on the mother to see why the toy is not working, and the mother would then know that the child is exposed and will ask the child to move to the next room, or will take appropriate action to ventilate the room or otherwise, so as to avoid the health effects or limit child exposure. The system was designed and developed on an open source platform. The hardware was designed using the Arduino hardware platform, and the software was designed with the Arduino IDE, and then the mobile app was developed on the MIT App Inventor platform. The system was designed and developed for simplicity, flexibility, and portability to maximize accessibility, and those were the guidelines throughout the development and design of the system. You can see from the hardware in the images, how small it is really with respect to its size, and it's also relatively portable. One advantage of the system is the utilization of human-computer interaction to address child exposure. And also, the system is accessible, meaning that it is built for all. Secondly, there is multiple feedback that offers visual, auditory, and tactile notification to the users. Thirdly, multiple sensors can be used. More than one sensor can be connected, and also different pollutants could be detected simultaneously or contrastingly if one of the sensors is an oxygen sensor. That is to say, if you have an oxygen sensor on one of the nodes and a carbon monoxide sensor on another, the system can give you results in a difference of status of oxygen and carbon monoxide. So there might be some live applications either in industry or domestic use of the system that might require such functionality. The fourth advantage involves hardware flexibility. The system can operate as a standalone or networked. The user can choose to connect a mobile phone or not depending on the needs. Each node can charge its own batteries, or you can charge your battery via solar panels or via USB. The fifth, the system is universally design compliant, so it complies with at least the first 5 principles of universal design, and it's more accessible to a wide range of users as well. The research method used is a mixed method combining quantitative and qualitative data to achieve the development of the system. So quantitative data from WHO and laboratory sources are complemented with user interviews which provided the qualitative data in the development of the system. After initial development with the quantitative data from WHO published material and the sensor readings and measurements taken in the laboratory, we had to go and interview the users to evaluate the system. So in all, there were 6 participants in 3 groups representing 3 different households. 12 questions were asked in a face-to-face interview session. The image that you see is a real-life kitchen where some of the measurements were taken, and this is in the outskirts of Maputo in Mozambique in a village called Boane. Some results were carried out in the laboratory on the system and they are tabulated in the following table. You can notice that the system was able to detect alcohol, carbon dioxide, smoke, and liquefied petroleum gas and carbon monoxide. The detection range was in meters and the sensitivity was in ppms. However, the system was only calibrated for carbon monoxide detection. Also note that The values in ppms were determined by cross-referencing the sensor data with the manufacturer's data sheet and also using a standard sensor, a standard professional sensor in the calibration process. During the interview, the following recurring patterns occurred in question 8, 9, 10, and 12. The participants were asked if they would like to install the system in their homes. The answer was unanimously yes. And when they were also asked if they would buy the system if it were available, they answered unanimously yes. When asked what aspect of the system they liked the most, and they were also told they could say if they had some dislikes. As a dislikes, all of the participants said they worried about the potential cost. And finally, when they were asked about their general thoughts and experience of the system, all of them said positive, and they specifically used the word positive. The data collected and the experiments conducted during the development of the system achieved the following results: compliance with universal design principles. 1. Equitable use. Professionals, non-professionals, and even impaired users can use the system. The mobile app delivers 3 types of feedback: auditory, tactile, and visual. This app also has multiple languages, Portuguese and English. Note that Portuguese is the national language in Mozambique where the test and interviews were conducted. Secondly, flexibility in use. The system offers multiple options of functionality and also customizable. There are additional features that are intrinsically built in the system that can be used in the future as upgrades. The system can be personalized to meet user needs. Thirdly, it is simple and intuitive. The mobile interface is intuitive. No complex gestures are required. No special training is also required. The fourth point is perceptible information. The system displays good contrast and color. The character font size of 15 to 20 point font, and also information is displayed in image and color. Provides visual, auditory, and tactile feedback, which diminishes the need for screen reader support for our uh, impaired users. Also, the fifth point, tolerance or error. The system indicates error if the sensor fails or if it's disconnected. Challenges encountered during the research process were as follows. Low statistical samples. There were only 6 people available for interview. This is because these are the only people who qualified for the indoor context. Most of the people in the Mozambique use solid fuels but outside, whereas the research was focused in the indoor context. And also lack of commercial samples, as most of the users or participants wanted samples that they could take home, use for a day or two, and then we might come back and interview them to get their experience. Also, language barriers, like in Mozambique, Portuguese is the official language, and we needed a translator to help in the interviewing process. Lack of participants for accessibility evaluation. So we could not have, for example, impaired users like blind or deaf people to interview. So, hence, we had to use personas instead. The system development also had its own challenges in the software and hardware development. For example, in the software, programming user-friendly features sometimes leads to increasingly complex lines of code and might also be limited by the power of the compiler employed. In the hardware, the bulkier the components, the bulkier the system will be. So any system that is bulky, it will lead to less portability. A wearable system requires tiny components or SMDs, and these SMDs are usually not cheap. 3 personal characters: hearing impaired, visually impaired, and other assistive capabilities are used to illustrate the different situations with our users with impairments. Take, for example, in other system assistive capabilities, Suppose you had a neighbor who is using the same system and the neighbor was an impaired user, say someone in a wheelchair, and there was a status notification of the air quality in their home bad, and the person did not respond. The system could be customized to notify a neighboring system such that a neighbor can render assistance to someone who is impaired and in a neighboring home. To conclude, as desired and required from the beginning of our design process, the proposed system can dictate a wide range of pollutants such as smoke, alcohol, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, liquefied petroleum gas. It is also universally designed and accessible. It provides a multiple feedback notification of the air quality status in audio, visual, and tactile, diminishing the need for screen reader support for our users with impairments. It is simple to use and it's customizable. We have come to the end of our presentation. Thank you for your kind attention.